Hey folks, it's Andrew Kilpatrick here, and this video will cover live control, the arpeggiator, and the tonality menu in Carbon. So let's get started. There are a number of ways of using the keyboard in conjunction with Carbon, either as a performance controller or as a way to enter notes. But you can also use the keyboard to perform live or to take over or augment existing tracks. The Auto Live function is accessed through the MIDI menu, and this lets you play over top of a normal track. Normally, when you play the keyboard will not sound if the track is already playing by itself. So if I turn the Auto Live function on, now I can play, even with the live mode switched off. Here's how it sounds. When you switch the Auto Live function off, it's necessary to press the Live button if you want to use the keyboard on a track. This is how this works. So you'll notice the sequencer kept playing, but the notes were muted while we had the live mode enabled. The other way of using live control is to use the keyboard transpose mode, which is accessed by holding down Shift when you press the live button. This will allow you to transpose all the voice tracks up or down with the keyboard. Let me show you how this works. You'll notice when I'm using the keyboard transpose mode, the KB indication at the top of the screen is lit up, and the current transposition is shown either plus or minus in number of semitones. The tonality menu is related to some of the functions that we've just talked about, so let's go through the various options. The scale lets you quantize the notes from the track through a scale quantization. This will shift the notes according to the various scale that you've chosen. And this even works with the live playback. So let me give you an example. So if I play, I'm playing some chromatic scale here, and you can see because I've got it set to chromatic, I'm hearing the exact notes I'm playing. If I quantize to natural minor, now I'll play the same sequence, and all the notes are quantized within the natural minor scale, starting at C. The bias track allows you to transpose the current track based on notes existing in another track. This is a pretty old school sequencer trick that people used to do back in the analog sequencer days, but we've implemented it here in Carbon so that you can get the same effect. So you can have a track, let's say, running whole notes or quarter notes, and you can put a very slow sequence in there that goes through a chord progression, and then any tracks that have the bias track set to that track will be transposed up or down from the notes in that track, middle C being no transposition and other notes being higher or lower. The track type can be either voice or drum, and this affects several different things. The most important thing is that it affects the keyboard transpose mode. Drum tracks won't be transposed when you use the keyboard transpose option, because that would be weird. You want your drum patterns to have the same notes, but you want to transpose your melodic and harmonic parts up and down. It also affects how recording works. If you record into a voice track, you can overdub parts, just like in a regular sequencer. If you record in drum mode, the notes that you enter will replace any other notes that are the same pitch. So, for instance, if you have a multi-timbral drum part with a kick drum and a snare drum, for instance, and you want to replace just the kick drum, you can play a new kick drum part, and any other notes that already existed in the track of that note number will be replaced by the new recording. This is a really fast way to layer up and be able to quickly replace parts on a single track. And the last part of this video goes into the arpeggiator. There is an arpeggiator on all of the 6 tracks, and you can actually use them all at the same time. So to enter the arpeggiator mode, you can turn it on by pressing the ARP button, and you'll notice that the bar under the current track is lit up. If you want to go into the arpeggiator settings without enabling or disabling the arpeggiator, you can hold down Shift when you press ARP and it will just call up the menu without changing the ARP on-off state. There are 3 settings in the arpeggiator. You can choose the ARP type, you can also choose the ARP speed, and you can also choose the gate length. The reason why you can choose the ARP speed is because you can have a sequence with a very slow progression of chords and choose a faster ARP speed, and that will animate the chords. So that means that, for instance, if you have whole notes, you can have a number of bars and put a different chord on every step, and then choose 16th notes and it will animate those chords automatically. So you can use the arpeggiator live like this. Or you can use the output from a track to control the arpeggiator. So for instance, I've put 4 steps here with whole notes, and I've put a chord in each step, and when I turn on the arpeggiator and play back the sequence, it sounds like this. So that's a really great way to use fewer steps but get a really animated output. The other thing is that you can adjust the arpeggiator type in real time or after the fact. So for instance, as we play this again, I'll adjust the arpeggiator type and you can hear the different effects. So that's a quick overview of the live control functions, the arpeggiator, and the tonality menu in Carbon. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.